Luxembourg will join French President Emmanuel Macron's initiative to recognise a Palestinian state. Let's listen to his statements.
Je crois que c'est un pas important dans une longue marche vers une paix et stabilité dans la région. Je crois que ça ne va pas se faire du jour au lendemain, mais ce qui est important de voir qu'il y a dans cette réunion les pays arabes et les pays européens. S'il y avait simplement 3-4 pays européens qui diraient nous on va reconnaître la Palestine, je crois que ça ne changerait rien. Ce qui compte de voir lundi, c'est qui sera autour de la table et qu'est-ce que diront les États arabes aussi par rapport à Israël. Parce qu'on parle bien de 2 États. Et je voudrais que les peuples israéliens et palestiniens gardent l'espoir pour un jour pouvoir vivre en paix.
The move comes as more countries signal support for recognition amid growing international condemnation of Israel's nearly 2-year offensive in Gaza. Okay, we move next to Africa, where a deadly drone strike by Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces killed at least 75 people at a mosque in the Abu Shouk camp for displaced persons in Darfur on Friday. The attack, confirmed by the Emergency Response Room aid group, occurred as RSF forces intensified their offensive to seize control of El-Fasher, the last army stronghold in the Darfur region. According to a new UN report, the civil war in Sudan has worsened as it entered its 3rd year, with rising reports of ethnic violence, civilian casualties and human rights abuses. UN Human Rights Office says Sudan has seen a significant rise in civilian killings during the first half of this year due to growing ethnic violence. Since April of 2023, Sudan has been gripped by a brutal war between the regular armed forces and the paramilitary RSF. We're once again joined by Ross Feingold. Ross, what more can you tell us about this war? Why has fighting broken out and why has it carried on for so long now?
Well, the fighting has continued almost continuously since the civil war broke out in 2023. And one of the key factors in prolonging this war is the support from foreign countries. Both sides have enjoyed this support, whether that's cash or military equipment. A larger number of countries seem to be supporting the Sudan armed forces, but the RSF does have support, most notably from the United Arab Emirates, and this has allowed the war to continue. And unfortunately, we have to be frank, global attention is not focused on this war, and people have called it a forgotten war, which unfortunately might be a correct description, but with the war in Gaza and the war in Ukraine taking up so much international attention, and to a lesser extent, the situation in Myanmar as well, there's just not a lot of attention on the war in Sudan.
Yeah, indeed, Ross. And of course, as its conflict enters its 3rd year, who's politically benefiting from it and how?
Yeah, that again goes to the issue of the international support for either side. And countries have their own incentives for being involved. So, Egypt is involved because they have issues with Ethiopia, and Sudan has been a partner with Egypt in that regard. There are other players from Ethiopia, regional armies that have taken sides, and then the Gulf states have also picked their own sides. Russia was involved at some point, so was the old Wagner group, mercenaries. They were involved on a different side than the Russian government. So different players have had their own incentives to be involved. Sometimes it's about larger geopolitical issues, but sometimes it's just about making money, unfortunately. But some of the people or countries who've been involved have done so for financial reasons. So there's a number of incentives that different countries have had to be involved, but ultimately the result has been to prolong the war. And there just doesn't seem to be anything on the horizon indicating that this situation is going to resolve. In fact, I would say if there's any short-term ceasefire, it's unlikely